So the easy way to do this question is to break our convention of work is equal to 1 unit. Let's take work is equal to 40 units. So Anil is capable of doing 2 units per day because he can finish 40 units in 20 days. Sunil can do 40 units in 40 days, so Sunil can do 1 unit per day. So Anil works by himself for the first 3 days. By this time 6 units out of the 40 has been done. Then Sunil joins. So each day 3 units is being done, and this progresses for a certain number of days, but we don't know how many. After a certain amount of time, Bimal also joins, and then 2, 1 and Bimal does something. We again don't know this. And after some more days, the work will get completed. At this point, we have hit a total of 40 units. Now, out of this 40 units, Bimal does 10%, which is 4. We don't know in how many days Bimal does this for, nor can we find this. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that if this is 4, then this should be 36. Now A does 6 units in the first 3 days. So that means this is 30 units. And the remaining 4 or 10% is done by Bimal. So 30 units at 3 units per day will take 10 days. After the initial 3 days, so your answer is 13 days. So you have two APs here, 15, 19, 23, 27 up till 415 is one AP, and the other AP is 14, 19, 24 etc. till 464. Now you have a common difference of 4 and a common difference of 5. So once you find the common term, the next common term will occur at a distance which is the LCM of the given common differences. So it's going to be 20. So the next common term is 39. So the sequence of common terms is another AP whose common difference is the LCM. So we have 19, 39. Notice that they're all 1 less than multiples of 20. So 420 minus 1, 419 cannot be part of this sequence. The last one that we can have is 399. This is the sequence that we have, and they're asking us how many terms are common. You can look at it multiple ways. I'm not going with the standard formula. I'm simply saying 20 into 1 minus 1 is the first term. 20 into 20 minus 1 is the last term. Just comparing this 1 and this 20, you can see that there are 20 terms in this list of common terms. So it's given to us that f of mn is equal to f of m into f of n. So then f of 24, because we can write 24 as 2 into 2 into 2 into 3, it basically becomes f of 2 into f of 2 into f of 2 into f of 3, and this value is given to us as 54. When you prime factorize 54, you get 3 cube into 2, 3 into 3 into 3 into 2. Now just by doing a comparison, you can see that f2 is equal to 3 and f3 equal to 2. Now what they want us to find is f18, which is f of 2 into 3 into 3, which is basically f of 2 into f of 3 into f of 3, which will become 3 into 2 into 2. So your answer is 12. So if you look at his income, regular and overtime is 15% of his regular income, but this overtime income is earned at double the rate. Notice that 114 is double of 57. So if you look at the time ratio as opposed to the income ratio, it's going to be 100 is to 7.5, because he only needs to work half of the time to earn the same amount. This can be rewritten as 200 is to 15. That's the total time. Let's just take it as 200 parts and 15 parts. So then 215 parts is equal to 172 hours. Notice that 215 is 43 into 5 and 172 is 43 into 4. So a part is 4/5 of an hour. They're asking us what is the total time he worked overtime. That's going to be 15 parts, which will be 15 into 4 by 5 is equal to 12 hours, and that is your answer. So if our roots are 4a and 3a, the sum of the roots, which is minus b, will be equal to 7a, making b is equal to minus 7a. The product of the roots is c in this case, and that is 4a into 3a, 12a square. So then b square plus c is gonna be 49a square plus 12a square, which is 61a square. Now it has to be a multiple of 61, and when you divide by 61 you have to get a perfect square. From the options, the only one that works is 549. So this is the figure for this particular question. They're talking about two circles touching externally, radius 4. They have a third circle that touch them both externally, and these three circles have a common tangent. So that's basically what we have, and we need to find the radius of this third circle. So the way to go about it is to say that there is a radius here 4, this is also 4, this is also 4, this is also 4. So we have an 8 by 4 rectangle there. We have 4 and an unknown x here. We have x here as well. So out of this 4, if this part is x up till the center of that circle is x, then the rest of the height would be 4 minus x. So you have a triangle with 4, this hypotenuse is 4 plus x, and this side here is 4 minus x. So let me just darken that particular triangle. This is my triangle. It is a right angle triangle with a 4 minus x, and a 4 plus x is the hypotenuse. So what we have is 4 plus x the whole square is equal to 4 square plus 4 minus x the whole square. Now without solving this rigorously, you can just notice that it is 5 square is equal to 4 square plus 3 square, the simplest Pythagorean triple that we know, which gives us x is equal to 1. This is non-rigorous. You could instead solve it rigorously and get x equal to 1. Not a problem, but this should be sufficient. That gives us the radius of the third circle as 1 centimeter. So the initial ratio is given as 6:5:7, and the final ratio is given as 3:4:3. But it is also given that Ramesh's salary increased by 25%. Now without going into too many calculations, we can rewrite the ratios to make it so that you have a 25% increase, and that can be done by writing this as 12:10:14, doubling it and making this 15:20:15, basically into 5. Into 2 and into 5 will give you numbers which are in the ratio where you have a plus 25%. Now they're asking you the percentage increase in Rajesh's salary, which should be it went from 14 to 15, so all you gotta do is final by initial and then subtract 1, so that will give you 1 by 14, which you know is approximately 7%. So the first thing to figure out in this question is how many brackets are there. So the brackets have the expression 2n as well as the constant 1. Next time is 3, 5, 7, 9 up till 47. So you can just see how many odd numbers there are from 1 to 47, and the number of terms in an arithmetic progression is last number minus first number by common difference plus 1. So 47 minus 1 by 2 is 46 by 2 is 23 plus 1 is 24. So we basically have 24 brackets, and the left term in each bracket is 2n, and the right term is the odd numbers 2n plus 1, 2n plus 3, 2n plus 5, etc. till 2n plus 47. Now the sum is going to be, there are 24 brackets. There will be 48n plus the sum of all of these odd numbers is basically average into number of terms. The number of terms is 24. The average is 1 plus 47 by 2. It is also 24. So we have 48n plus 576. That's 24 into 24 is equal to 5280. So then 48n is 5280 minus 576 is equal to 0447. Now that gives you n is equal to 4700 by 48, 4704 by 48. 4800 minus 96, 100 minus 2, 98. N is equal to 98. And the answer that we want is the sum of all natural numbers up till 98, which is 98 into 99 by 2, because of the formula n into n plus 1 by 2. This will give you 49 into 99. There will be 4900 minus another 49, 4851. That's your answer. So we purchased 10 bicycles all at the same price, and some of them were sold, 6 were sold at a profit of 25%, and 4 were sold at a loss of 25%. And so your quantity ratio is 6:4, 6:4. So when you divide the distance between minus 25 and 25, which is a total of 50 units in the ratio 6:4, you'll get 30 on the left side, 20 on the right side, giving you 5% overall profit. This 5% profit was equal to 2000 rupees, which means that 1% is equal to 400, and your full cost price was equal to 40,000 rupees. That is the price of 10 bicycles. The price of one bicycle would therefore be 4,000 rupees. The percentage here is defined as grams per 100 ml. So we have your A, B, C with percentages of 10, 22, 32. But that's actually 50 gram per 500, 110 gram per 500, and 160 grams per 500 ml. That's your starting. First 100 ml is transferred from A to B, so it will become 40 by 400. This will become plus 10. Numerator will be plus 10 and denominator will be plus 100, so it will be 120 by 600. There's no change here. That is step 1. In step 2, A will remain the same. 100 ml of the solution in B is transferred to C, so 120 by 600 would mean that 20 by 100 will be exactly 1/6 of it. 20 grams per 100 ml. That will be reduced, so it will become 100 by 500, and that 20 will be the increase in the numerator, and that 100 will be the increase in the denominator. This is step 2. In step 3, you take from C and transfer to A. 180 by 600 is basically 30 by 100, so that's the reduction there. It will go down to 150 by 500. It will increase by 30 and become 70 by 500. No change to B. It will remain at 100 by 500. So they are asking you what is the percentage of the solution in A. It is 70 by 500, which is 14%. That's your answer. So in this question we are given fractional values and we are asked for a fractional value. So this question is invariant with respect to the cost price. So I'm going to take the cost price as 100. Shopkeeper sells to Amal at a profit of 20%, so it becomes 120, and Asim for a loss of 20%, so it becomes 80. Amal sells to Bimal at a profit of 30%. 30% of 120 is 36, so it becomes 156. Loss of 30%, 30% of 80 is 24. Reduce 24 from the 80 and you get 56. So Barun gets it for 56, Bimal gets it for 156. The amount x and y, so these are assigned as x and y, and they're asking you what is x minus y by p, which is 156 minus 56 by 100, which is 1. So first we have to rewrite this in terms of its primes and powers. So it's going to be 2 raised to 4 into 3 raised to 5 into 2 raised to 4 into 5 raised to 4. So that's going to be 2 raised to 8 into 3 raised to 5 into 5 raised to 4. Now creating perfect factors of a number is a multi-step process where you apply FTC. Step 1, what is the power of 2? It can either be 0 or 2 or 4 or 6 or 8, because we are doing perfect squares. It can only be even numbers. Power of 3 can either be 0 or 2 or 4. Power of 5 can be either 0 or 2 or 4. This gives us 5 into 3 into 3 is equal to 45 ways of creating factors which are perfect squares. Out of this 45, one of them happens to be 2 raised to 0, 3 raised to 0, 5 raised to 0. We don't want to include that because the perfect square should be greater than 1. So you subtract the 1, you have 44 perfect squares greater than 1. Largest positive integer n for the expression n square plus 7n plus 12 by n square minus n minus 12 to be a positive integer. Now this is n plus 4 into n plus 3, while this is n minus 4 into n plus 3. We can cut the n plus 3's and you'll get the expression n plus 4 by n minus 4. This can be rewritten as n minus 4 plus 8 by n minus 4, which will then become, let's distribute. This is 1 and this is 8 by n minus 4. So it becomes 1 plus 8 by n minus 4. That's what this expression reduces to. Now the question is, what is the biggest value I can put for n minus 4 such that 8 by n minus 4 is an integer? Because this part is always going to be an integer. What matters is that this part should also be an integer. So we need 8 by 8 minus 4 to be an integer, and the biggest value that I can put for n minus 4 is 8, which automatically means that n is equal to 12 is the biggest value. Biggest value of n possible is n equal to 12. So what is the total interest for Amal? For Amal, from his first investment he gets 8% of 12,000, which is directly 960. As far as Amal's second investment is concerned, we have to find the amount and then subtract the principal to get the interest. The amount is basically principal times 1 plus r, but it's 6% for a year and it's compounded semi-annually, so you get 3% during that period of compounding, and there are 2 periods of compounding. This becomes 10,000 into 1.0609, that gives you 10,609 as the amount. You subtract the principal and you get 609 as the interest from the second scheme. So Amal's total interest is 960 plus 609, which becomes 1569. What about Bimal? Bimal gets 7.5% of some principal, and that is also equal to 1569. So Bimal's principal is 1569 into 100 by 7.5. Let's take out a 2.5, and that will give you 40 and 3, and cut this and you will get 523. 523 into 4 is 2092. Add a 0, 20,920 is your answer. For a regular polygon with A sides, each interior angle is A minus 2 by A into 180 degrees. And then you have another polygon with B sides, but B is just 2A. So the measure of each interior angle is 2A minus 2 by 2A into 180. And the information that they are giving us is that the interior angle of the second polygon is 3 by 2 times that of the first polygon. And then you can cut whatever you can cut. 180 is gone, 180 is gone, A2, A2, and you are left with 2A minus 2 is equal to 3A minus 6, which gives us A is equal to 4, which means that B is equal to 8 and A plus B is equal to 12. They're asking us each interior angle of a regular polygon with A plus B sides, 12 sides, your dodecagon. So that will be 10 by 12. It's 12 minus 2 by 12 into 180 degrees, which is 5/6 of 180, which is 150 degrees. That's your answer. Without worrying about a rigorous solution, we can find certain combinations of values that are consistent with the information given that will help us eliminate 3 of the 4 options here, and that should be sufficient. So you can see that you have a 5 square here, a 13 square here, and a 5 into 13 here. Now that is significant. What can we do with it? If I put A is equal to 5, then A square will be 25 and B square will be 0, so B is equal to 0. If I put X is equal to 13, then X square will take care of this 169, so Y square will be 0, so Y will also be 0. Now that is consistent with, the first, this set of values is consistent with the first 2 equations. Now check out the third equation. A is 5, X is 13, AX is now 65, BY is the product of 2 zeros, so it's also 0, and it's consistent with the third as well. Now, so I have found a solution that is consistent with the 3 given equations. Now for this particular solution that I found, K is AY, which is 5 into 0, minus B into X, 0 into 13, 0. So I got K equal to 0. Now that will help me eliminate K is equal to 15, K is greater than 5 by 13, K greater than 0, because I got K equal to 0, and everything except the second option has been falsified using K is equal to 0, so the answer is option B. Root of log 4x minus x square by 3 is real if and only if. There are 4 options given to us. Let's discuss 2 ways of doing this: with the options, without the options. With the options, it is pretty simple. The first thing you should try out is x equal to 0. X equal to 0 makes this expression reduced to root of log 0, and log 0 is not defined. So 0 cannot be part of the domain. that immediately takes out two of the options. Options that begin at the negative side and end at the positive side, both are immediately negated. That leaves us with either 1 to 2 or 1 to 3, which means that 1 to 2 is definitely part of the domain. The only question is whether it extends from 2 to 3 onwards. So the only thing to do is just substitute x equal to 3 and see what happens to the function. That will give you log of 4 into 3 is 12. 3 square is 9 by 3. This gives you root of log 3 by 3 is 1. Log 1 is root of 0. Root of 0 is defined and it's 0. So 3 is valid. 3x equal to 3 is valid. So the best option is option 1. That is if you have the options. If you didn't have the options, then you would have to understand the domain and ranges of a few functions. Let's see how that works. So as I said already, root 0 is defined and it is 0. So for the square root function, let's take it as fx equal to root of x. The domain is from 0 to infinity and the range is also from 0 to infinity. So this is defined only if the part inside the root is greater than or equal to 0. And for that to happen, the input to the log function should be greater than or equal to 1. That's basically how it works. Because of the log curve, the output is greater than or equal to 0 only when the input is greater than or equal to 1. And for 4x minus x square by 3 to be greater than or equal to 1, you're going to get 4x minus x square greater than or equal to 3, which is going to give you x square minus 4x plus 3 less than or equal to 0. This gives you x minus 1 into x minus 3 less than or equal to 0, and then we draw the number line, we mark the roots 1 and 3, and then we say the two roots divide into three regions. The rightmost region is positive, negative, positive, and what we want is the negative part. So x is between 3 and 1, and that's your answer. So you can find the range without the options. It's a little more work. So the cyclist reaches at 11 a.m. initially in the first case, and the motorcycles all have the same speed, which means the first ones to reach are the first ones to start. So if you have 45 reaching, they were the first 45 to start, and they started from 11:01. Oh, sorry, 10:01 to 10:45. These are the first 45 who started, and this last one just reached at 11 o'clock. So that means the travel time for the motorcycle is 15 minutes. In the second case, they're saying the cyclist doubles the speed, so the motorcycles have to reach by 10:30. That means they have to start by 10:15, because we already found out that the travel time is 15 minutes, and they're starting every minute starting from 10:01 one motorcycle starts. So you have the first 15 motorcycles will reach by the time the cycle reaches. In case 2, 15 is your answer. We have A was 10% less than that of B. Let's take B as 100x, in which case A would be 90x. It is given that B is 25% more than C, so C is basically 80x. Notice that 25% of 80x is 1/4 or 20x, and a plus 20 would take you to 100x. And the score of C was 20% less than D. D is also 100x then. And it is given that A is 72. 90x is 72. That is x is 4 by 5. So D would be 100 into 4 by 5, 80. 80 is your answer. Let's start with the final values. Let's frame using final values and equate using the initial values. So A, M and R had ratios of 11, 10 and 3 after each person gained 6 marks. So let's take it as 11 parts, 10 parts and 3 parts. This is after. Before it would have been 11p minus 6, 10p minus 6 and 3p minus 6. And what's given to us about this initial marks is that R score was 1/12 the sum of M and A. So basically 3p minus 6 is 1/12 of the sum of the others. Let's cross multiply the 12. You have 21p minus 12 is equal to 36p minus 72. This will give you 15p is equal to 60. P is equal to 4, which means that the final values were 44, 40 and 12. The initial values would have been 38, 34 and 8. They're asking for the difference between Anjali's score and Rama's score, which would be 44 minus 12 is 32. Or this would have been 6. Alternately, you can have 38 minus 6, which would also have been 32. Either way, the answer is 32. M square plus 105 is equal to n square. The first thing to do is rewrite it in the form n square minus m square is equal to 105, which is basically n plus m into n minus m is equal to 105. So you have two numbers whose product is 105. How many ways can you write 105 is the product of two numbers? For that, you have to first prime factorize 105. It is 3 raised to 1 into 5 raised to 1 into 7 raised to 1. We know that this number will have 2 into 2 into 2, 8 factors. Now these 8 factors can be placed into 4 factor pairs. I can list them out. They're 1, 3, 5, 7, 15, 21, 35 and 105. So those are your pairs. 1 into 105, 3 into 35, etc. Now you want to give the bigger number to n plus m. So if n plus m is 105, n minus m will be 1. If n plus m is 35, n minus m is 3, 21, 5, 15, 7. These are the possibilities. For each of these cases, you can find the value of n and m. We don't have to do that. We only have to find how many pairs are there. The answer is 4. What's given to us is that the hypotenuse is 20 and it's a right angle triangle and AP is the perpendicular onto BC. Now we don't know the exact shape of this right angle triangle, but if you want to see all the possible triangles, then you have to look at the circle with a diameter of 20. This is my circle and my diameter of 20. This is BC, the hypotenuse, and you can take A on any point. A is any point on the circumference. Doesn't matter, any point you take. Let's say you take this point, you will get a right angle triangle with a hypotenuse of 20. You take this point, right angle triangle with a hypotenuse of 20. Now the question is, from that A, wherever you take it, you are dropping a perpendicular AP onto BC. They're asking you the maximum possible length of AP, and once you frame the question in this way, you realize that obviously AP is maximized when you take A at the highest point, which should be the isosceles right triangle case. This is the isosceles case would be the case that has the highest altitude AP. largest altitude AP. Now the reason I drew the circle and did it this way was to prove my claim that the isosceles case would be the best case to look at here. Now we have BC is equal to 20, so that is basically 10, 10, 10, 10 root 2. We don't need to find all of this. What we need is AP. AP would be maximum possible values 10 centimeters. So the most efficient way of doing this question is through replacements. We had 11,500 books, which then became 12,760. That is an increase of plus 1,260. Now we start with the extreme case of all fiction, no non-fiction. This would have been 10% of 11,500 would have been 1,150. My assumption that all 11,500 books are fiction, none of them are non-fiction, would mean that the total increase in the number of books would have been 1150 only, but it's actually 1260, which means through replacement I have to achieve 110 more. And what's the replacement here? You reduce the number of fiction books by 100 and you increase the number of non-fiction books by 100. You still have a mixture of 11,500 books, but the increase in the number of books from 2010 to 2015, there'll be minus 10 and plus 12. So with every replacement of 100 books, there will be plus 2 books. The increase in the number of books will rise by plus 2. And how many such replacements do you need? You need 110 by 2 is equal to 55 replacements. This 55 replacements is basically 5,500 non-fiction books and 6,000 fiction books. This was the case back in 2010. They're asking you how many fiction books were there in 2015. All you gotta do is increase this number by 10% and your answer will become 6,600. So we have a pyramid with a square base ABCD, and my square is horizontal, and F is the meeting point of the diagonals of the square, and my apex E is directly above F. And all the triangles ABE, BCE, CDE and DAE, they're all equilateral triangles with sides of 20. They're asking us the vertical height, which is EF. The length of EF is what they want. So my side is 20, and if you have a square with 20, then the diagonal, this thing right here, is gonna be 20 root 2, and half of it is gonna be 10 root 2. Each side is gonna be 10 root 2. Now if you look at AFE as a triangle, this triangle is right angled, though it doesn't look like that when you draw it in 2 dimension, but it's right angled. AF is horizontal, FE is vertical, and AE is the hypotenuse, which is 20 because we have equilateral. Again we have a right angle triangle with 20 and 10 root 2. Again isosceles right triangle, so this will also be 10 root 2. That will be the height EF. Height of the pyramid is 10 root 2. That's your answer. So as far as John and Mary are concerned, the speeds are in the ratio 4:5. 6 and 7.5 are in the ratio 4:5. So in the same amount of time, their distances are going to be also in the ratio of 4:5. This 4/5 refers to 9 laps of John running on track A and 5 laps of Mary running on track B, which I'm going to take as distance A and distance B respectively. So when you simplify it, you'll see that distance A by distance B is equal to 4 by 9. The lap lengths of the track A and B are in the ratio 4:9, and their sum is 325. So that's basically 13 parts is 325, which gives you 1 part is equal to 25, which gives you 100 meters and 200 meters. Now the question is, how long will Mary take to uh, jog one round of track A? Time taken by Mary is distance of track A divided by speed of Mary, which is 100 meters divided by 7.5 kilometers per hour, which will convert to meter per second by doing into 5 by 18, and that 18, which is the denominator of the denominator, will move to the numerator. We just have to simplify this. 5 and 100 will cut to give you 20. You can take out a 2.5 and that will leave 3. 20 by 2.5 is 8. 18 by 3 is 6. And you will end up with 8 into 6, 48 seconds. And that is your answer. So we have identical cylinders. And we want to minimize the number of cylinders, so we have to maximize the volume each cylinder, and each cylinder is using only one type of metal. So to maximize the volume, we have to look at the highest common factor of these numbers: 405, 783 and 351. 405 is basically 9 into 45, which is 9 into 9 into 5. 783 is divisible by 9. It's 720 plus 63, so it's 87, which I'll take as 3 into 29. And 351 is 9 into 39, which is again 9 into 3 into 13. This can be rewritten as 9 into 3 into 15. So the HCF is the 9 into 3, which is common to everything. And the numbers of cylinders that we make will be 15, 29 and 13. So the volume is pi r square h is equal to 27. We already know that r is 3, so it's basically pi h into 9 is 27, giving us pi h is equal to 3 and h is equal to 3 by pi. And the surface area for one such cylinder is 2 pi r into r plus h, which will take as 2 pi r square. We'll split it up. 2 pi r square plus 2 pi r h. 2 pi r square will be 2 pi into 3 square into 9, 18 pi plus. As far as pi h is concerned, we can directly take it as 3. So it is simply 18. 2 into 3 into 3 is just 18. So the total surface area of one cylinder is 18 pi plus 18, which will take as 18 into pi plus 1. They want the total surface area of all the cylinders, which is going to be, how many cylinders are there? 15 plus 29 plus 13 will give you 57 cylinders. So the answer is 57 times of 18 times pi plus 1, which will become 1026 into pi plus 1. That's your answer. While we can solve this using the discriminant, which is probably the obvious thing that most people would think when faced with real distinct roots, I just want to approach this slightly differently. Let's use graphs. What we are given is x square minus 4x is equal to log of a to the base 2. This should have real and distinct roots if the RHS will cut the LHS at more than one place. Let's look at what that will look like. You have x square minus 4x, which is basically a parabola having roots at 0 and 4. So 0 and 4, and you will know that the axis of symmetry of this parabola will be at x is equal to 2. And if you substitute x equal to 2, you will see that that lowest value is minus 4. 2 square is 4, 4 into 2 is 8, 4 minus 8 is minus 4. So my parabola, the LHS is basically a curve that looks like this. Now where this curve is with respect to, I mean, left right really doesn't matter here. What matters is the lowest point. Now the RHS is y is equal to log of a to the base 2, and a is a constant. Remember this. It is not log x to the base 2. So what we have is a horizontal line, nothing else. Let me just change the color of that as well. The horizontal line at this point, if a is at a value where the horizontal line will be here, you have no solutions. Here you will have one solution. Anything above, you will have two distinct solutions. So the limit is right here. We want log of a to the base 2 to be greater than minus 4. All you gotta do is do 2 raised to that on both sides, and you'll get a greater than 2 raised to minus 4 or a greater than 1 by 16. Answer. So we are given a triangle with medians, two medians that are perpendicular, and what we have to realize about that meeting point is that it is the centroid, and we know that the centroid divides the medians in the ratio 2:1. Now if AD is given as 12, then that means AG is 8 and DG is 4. And if BE is given as 9, then that means BG is 6 and GE is 3. Now notice the fact that ABD and ADC both have the same height and equal bases, so they have the same area. So if we can find, so this is ADC, if we can find the area of one of them, then we can double it to get the final answer. So look at ABD. ABD has a base AD, consider it as base AD and a height BG. We know that BG is perpendicular to AD, and we have these measurements. Half into 12 into 6 will give us 36 is the area of ABD, and if ABD is 36, then so is ADC, that is also 36. So your answer, required answer, area of ABC will be 36 plus 36, 72 square centimeter. That is your answer. So we have a 6-digit number, and the sixth or rightmost is the sum. Digit is the sum of the first 3 digits. So if you take this as A, B, C, this is A plus B plus C. The fifth is the sum of the first 2 digits, so it's going to be A plus B. The third is equal to the first digit, so now it's A. C is nothing but A itself, and so we have 2A plus B here. The second is twice the first digit, so you have A, 2A, A, 3A and 4A. And the fourth digit is the sum of the fifth and sixth, so you have 7A. These are your 7 digits. Now the digits cannot exceed 9. The question is, what is the largest possible value of the fourth digit? You can see that A equal to 1 is the only value that you can put for A, for this to be a 6-digit number in our decimal system. So 7A is going to be equal to 7, and that's your answer. This question is a lot easier than it looks, even though there's a little bit of calculation. It is just a couple of substitutions away from being linear simultaneous equations. What you're going to do is 3 raised to y is there, 3 raised to y plus 1 is there. This is the lowest power, lower power, 3 raised to y. Let me substitute it with b. 5 raised to x and 5 raised to x minus 1 are there. This is the lower power, let me substitute it with a. So if 5 raised to x minus 1 is a, 5 raised to x will become 5a. 5a minus b is 13,438. A plus 3 raised to y plus 1 is 3 times of 3 raised to y, so it's a plus 3b is equal to 9686. Let's multiply this by 3. and you will get 15a plus minus 3b is equal to 38 times 3 is 114, carry the 134 into 3 is 402, so you'll get 403. When you add these, you will get 16a is equal to 86 plus 14 is 100, carry the 1, 96 plus 404 is 500. This number happens to be 2 raised to 4 into 5 raised to 5, and the 16a happens to be 2 raised to 4 into 5 raised to x minus 1 is equal to 2 raised to 4 into 5 raised to 5. This gives me x minus 1 equal to 5 or x equal to 6. Now also notice that a is going to be 50,000 by 16, which should be, you can just cut the 16 and the 16 and you'll see that a is 5 raised to 5, which is 3125. Let's substitute that in the second equation. 3b will become 9686 minus 3125. You'll get 6165. 6561 we know is 3 raised to 8. So b is going to be 3 raised to 7. B is 3 raised to y. If 3 raised to y is equal to 3 raised to 7, then that means y is equal to 7. We already had x equal to 6. They're asking us for the sum. It is 13. 13 is your answer. So we are given 30 numbers, of which 20 numbers, exactly 20 numbers are there that do not exceed 5. The average of 30 numbers is 5. And the other 10 numbers, they have to exceed 5. Because exactly 20 do not exceed 5. Which means they're less than or equal to 5. They can be equal to 5 as well. Now, we can use the idea of the SU mean. So what is given to us is x bar is 5. We take SU mean also as 5. Then the net deviation will be 0. Now the numbers that are greater than 5 will have, let's look at the net deviation for the second part and the first part. The numbers that are greater than 5 have to be at least 6 because they're all integers. And so the minimum positive deviation given by these 10 numbers is going to be plus 10. That will correspond to minimum negative deviation of minus 10 for the first 20 numbers. When you have a minimum negative deviation, you will get the biggest possible numbers. Now, for those 20 numbers, the deviation is minus 10, and so their average, you can calculate it using a plus sigma d by n, where a is 5 and the deviation is minus 10, and there are 20 numbers there. So that is 5 minus half, 4.5. That's your highest possible average for the first 20 numbers. So they both start from P. One goes in the A moving clockwise and B moving anti-clockwise. They meet for the first time at 10 o'clock when A is covered 60%. So A is covered 60% and B is covered 40%. That's basically 3:2 speed ratio, which means there will be 5 meeting points. 1/5 of the circumference for each section. Now their first meeting happens when A has done 60% and B has done 40%, and they meet for the first time at 10 a.m. That is at 10 o'clock. A has covered 60%, B has covered 40%. I'll keep drawing B outside and A inside. I'm gonna remove this now. Now after meeting, A returns to P at 10:12. A covers the remaining 40% in 12 minutes, which means A had covered the 60% in 18 minutes. As far as B is concerned, B has only done 40% of his full lap, and that took him how many minutes? 18 minutes. The same time that A had done his 3/5, B had done his 2/5 in 18 minutes. If B does 2/5 in 18 minutes, to do the 3/5, B is gonna take another 27 minutes, because direct proportion, and that is after 10 o'clock. So the final answer is 27 minutes after 10 o'clock, 10:27. The real root of the equation 2 raised to 6x plus 2 raised to 3x plus 2 minus 21 equal to 0. For this we need to make a substitution that will make it a quadratic equation. This is an equation reducible to quadratic. Now 2 raised to 6x is 2 raised to 3x the whole squared, and 2 raised to 3x plus 2 is 2 raised to 3x into 2 raised to 2 minus 21 equal to 0. If you substitute y is equal to 2 raised to 3x, you will get y square plus 4y minus 21 equal to 0. This is y square minus 7y plus 7y minus 3y minus 21 equal to 0, which gives you y minus 3 into y plus 7 equal to 0. Y is either 3 or minus 7, but we'll reject the minus 7 because 2 raised to 3x cannot be equal to minus 7. It has to be a positive value because we know that the exponent graph looks like this. The output is always positive. So this is not possible. So we have 2 raised to 3x is equal to 3. Converting this exponential equation to a logarithm equation, you'll get log of 3 to the base 2 is equal to 3x, and x is equal to log of 3 to the base 2 divided by 3. That is your answer. It's given that a1 minus a2 plus a3 minus a4 etc. till an is equal to n for n any value of n greater than or equal to 1. Now what this phrase means is simply that if your subscript is even, for example a30, your coefficient is minus 1, while if your subscript is odd, your coefficient is plus 1. That is all this thing means. Now let's see a couple of first few cases for this. If I put n equal to 1, I'll get a1 equal to 1. If I put n is equal to 2, I'll get a1 minus a2 equal to 2. We already know that a1 is 1, so a2 has to be minus 1 as well. If you put n is equal to 3, you'll get a1 minus a2 plus a3 equal to 3. You'll see that a1 is 1, a2 is minus 1, a3 is plus 1. So basically what they've done is just going to be as many ones as the number of terms, but they have written the even number terms is with a coefficient of minus 1, but their value is also minus 1, so it turns out to be plus again. That is basically how the sequence works. Now we have to look at this sequence, and you'll see that a51 odd number term will be plus 1, even number term will be minus 1, plus 1, minus 1, etc. till you get the last term, which is also an odd number term, which is also going to be plus 1. So you have pairs, so many pairs of plus 1s and minus 1, and you have an extra plus 1 that's just doesn't have a pair. So this sum has to be, all of this is going to be equal to 0, and at the end there is a separate plus 1, so your final sum is 1, and that is your answer.